I'm so grateful to be able to say that, because I'm not lying when I say that there was a time that I didn't know if I would ever.
All my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know.
What's up? It's Kelsey and I'm back with another video. Today we're talking about a really common problem, something that a lot of people have struggled with, something I've struggled with, and that is depression. I know that depression is heavy. It's heavy. And it's not something to take lightly. So I hope that some of the tips I will share with you today will help you. But before we get into the tips, let me share my 2 shout out winners. The first one is Madeline Birchler. Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Your comments mean the world to me. And the second goes to Lainey Peters. Woohoo! Yeah! Thank you for the time that you take to leave a comment. It means a lot to me when you guys share your thoughts and share your feedback, which is why I want to give you a shout out. So, if you want a shout out, leave a comment or multiple comments and you just might get a shout out in my next video. Okay, so on to depression. Depression is heavy. I feel like most people struggle with depression at some point in their lives, and it can be like varying degrees of difficulty and intensity. But I do think that depression is different than sadness. Everyone is sad at times, but I think depression is like a more intense version of that, and it's more long lasting. I made a video about depression with the Yaoi family, which you can go check out if you want, and I'll post a link to it as well. I think in that video we shared some really great tips about depression, but this will hopefully help as well. First off, what are the signs of depression? How do you know that you're depressed? Well, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, but some of the symptoms that seem very common when it comes to depression are things like loss of interest in the things that you love, a loss of like desire to do really anything, kind of just want to like stay in bed all day and sleep and do nothing. It can also be like a lack of sleep. You want to sleep and you're tired, but you also can't really sleep. Could be a lack of physical energy, kind of like slowed thinking, not able to really give 100% to what you usually do. It's this feeling of like being in a dark place, like where you're constantly spiraling down. You have like no desire to be social, you feel extremely lonely, you feel like nobody cares about you and nobody has any interest in you. A lot of times you have these thoughts that like you'd be better off gone, you'd be better off dead, which is really sad to say, or you'd be better off if you were hurting yourself, or you wish that you got hurt or something like that. It's rough. There's a lot of feelings of being miserable, and that miserableness like lasts. Like it's like a long-lasting feeling. It's not just like a one-time short-lived feeling, but it's like continual feelings of feeling miserable and being sad. Come on. You are so distracting. Come on. Come on.
You can jump. You have legs. Yep, you can do it. Yep, come on. Come on. Come on. I know you can do it. Come on.
Good job. I feel like all of those feelings are normal to feel at some point in our lives, but what classifies something as depression is when you're feeling like all of those feelings at once for a long period of time. And I've struggled with depression a couple times in my life. Most recently was this last fall. There was a lot of big changes happening in my family, and just some kind of things that were rocking my world a little bit. Things were digging up some old trauma and some old pain, and so I was really struggling a lot with depression. And I know I talked about it a couple times on Instagram and on YouTube. I don't know that I went into like the depth of how difficult it was, or that I really conveyed the degree of how difficult it was, but pretty much from like right after I got home from filming The Counterfeit Kid, which was like October to like January, February, I was really struggling a lot. I was in a really bad place mentally and emotionally, and really just having an insanely hard time. And there were moments of feeling like that. Like actually most of the time I had no desire to do anything. I had no desire to post on YouTube. I had no desire to do Instagram. I had no desire to act. I had no desire to like pursue business. Like any of the things that I love or am really passionate about, I just didn't care about. And I was like, what is this? This is so not me, right? I felt really lonely. I felt like I didn't have any friends. I felt like nobody really cared about me. Like I would reach out to my friends and they'd always be busy or something like that, which is normal, but at that time I just was struggling with so many things that I felt extremely lonely and like I had nobody at all. I had no energy, honestly. Like it was hard for me to get out of bed. Like, that is a version of myself that I really like had never known before, and I'm so grateful that I'm over that and through it, because it was really hard at the time. And you know, I'm not proud of this, but I have to admit that there were even moments that I wanted to not be here. And that is really hard for me to say now, because I don't think that way at all anymore. Like I'm very happy with my life. I'm happy with everything that's going on. I'm so grateful for the time that I have on this earth and for every single second I have here. There's no way I would even think about possibly ending that time sooner than what is going to be my natural, you know, whenever I naturally die. You know, at the time that seemed like a totally plausible option, which is crazy to me to say. And so having said all that, I've been through depression, I understand, and some of the best ways that I found to cope with that really dark period of my life was to talk to people. I made an effort to reach out to as many friends as I could. A lot of my friends were busy or unavailable, and that's okay, but there were some friends that took time out of their schedule, like meet up with me, go have lunch when I was in the midst of like this deep dark time, and you know, they were able to give me some advice, they were able to help me, and I was able to really communicate everything that I'm going through, and that like meant so much. In a time that I was feeling so lonely and like I had nobody, to have those couple of friends take time out and like spend time with me like really meant a lot. I'm gonna start crying because it really is really so hard. Yeah, I just remember feeling like I didn't have any friends and like I didn't have anybody that cared about me. And you know, it's funny because it's like sometimes people reach out to me and I'm busy and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, like I'm just busy, I can't really help you. And you know, I know that anyone that ever was unavailable when I needed them, that's just what it was. But that kind of experience opened my eyes a little bit to like, maybe you need to be more aware of when people really need you, you know. There's a couple people I reached out to on the days that I was like, some of them didn't answer, some of them weren't available, and it was just in those moments that makes me realize like, I hope I'm more available for people than maybe I have been in the past. Anyways, so yeah, how to cope. Talk to your friends, reach out to your friends, even when you feel like you have none, like I did. You know, there were moments when I literally would scan my address book or scan my most recent text and say, who can I text? Who can I reach out to? Who can I call? Because I'm not doing well. I'm not in a good place. You know, and there was a couple really key conversations and key friends that helped me turn things around, and I'm really grateful for them. Another thing I did a lot is I wrote music. I wrote a song about that dark period in my life, and maybe I'll share it one day. I don't know. We'll see. And that helped a lot, just to be able to like, it's kind of cathartic to be able to get those feelings out on paper. I journaled a lot, I wrote a lot, and I tried to create, which is what I always do anytime I'm in like a low or emotional place, is I try to channel those feelings into art. Like I said before, another really huge one is trying to remind yourself of the people that do love you and do care about you. I know that feeling when you feel like nobody cares. Like literally, what's the point anymore? Because people won't answer my phone calls, they won't answer my texts, they're too busy to hang out with me. Like clearly, nobody cares about me, and so what's the point of even being here anymore? Like I know that feeling so well. But thankfully, that's not true. There are people that care about you, there are people that love you, and it might take some digging and it might take some really putting forth effort and letting people know that you're not okay, but you will find their love again. And if you reach out to them and let them know how badly you're needing them, I think you'll be surprised at how many people would come running to your aid. The other thing that helps with dealing with depression is seeing a therapist. I talked about this in my anxiety video, I've mentioned it before. It's not anything to be ashamed of. It truly isn't. I think there's this negative stigma surrounding therapy and getting help, and there absolutely shouldn't be, because you know, no one feels ashamed when they have to go see the doctor for help with their physical body. No one is guilted and like,
Why shouldn't you be able to take care of your physical body yourself? The fact that you need a doctor is embarrassing.
like nobody acts like that. The fact that we need help understanding our brain and our mental health is totally normal and totally okay. And believe me, it took me a long time to come to this conclusion. I think I had a little bit of pride surrounding it, and I was like, I don't need help from a therapist. Like I can handle this stuff myself. Like I'm strong. I don't need this, whatever. But the truth is like, you can't. I couldn't do it by myself. And as soon as I realized that things weren't changing and that I was stuck for months, that's when I realized I really need help. Like this is darker and harder than I've ever experienced, and I need help out of this. I really recommend you look into therapy. And for me, I found that I don't love talk therapy. I actually prefer other kinds of therapy, such as like EMDR or brain spotting. I'm sure some talk therapists are really great and really helpful, but I find a lot more progress in solving the root of the problem through the brain and not just talking about it. My mom's an EMDR therapist and a brain spotting therapist. If you're depression or you're struggling with anything like this, seek out therapy. And if talk therapy has never worked for you, try some other forms of therapy, such as EMDR. Basically, what that does is like, the therapist will use, I think it's like a stick, and your eyes will move back and forth, and I'm gonna butcher this, let's see here. It uses the patient's own rapid rhythmic eye movements, and these eye movements dampen the power of emotionally charged memories of past traumatic events. So there you go. Basically, she uses a stick to make your eyes move rapidly. You follow the stick and it releases the trauma from emotionally charged memories. Don't really know how, but it is a thing and it does work. I've done it before. And then the other thing is called brain spotting, which is kind of the similar idea that trauma lives at a particular point in your brain, and so you'll kind of experiment with finding places where you'll think about a memory or something that's causing you pain or sadness or whatever, and then you'll look around different places that the therapist will point out, and you'll identify where that trauma and that pain is like the strongest and most intense, and then from there they'll work to release the trauma from that spot in your brain. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it totally works. I've done it before on a couple things that my mom has helped me with, and I definitely recommend it. I know that therapy can be expensive. That was one of my biggest concerns when I was considering therapy, but there are options available. If you're like a teenager or a kid or a college student, I would definitely suggest talking to your parents. Even if you're a little embarrassed, just say, hey mom, hey dad, like I need help. Can you help me with this thing? I want to get help. I want to get better. I need to improve my mental health. And your parents might be willing to help you. If you're a college student, there are usually a lot of resources at college campuses. And don't be embarrassed to ask an advisor or someone on campus if there are any resources for mental health. You can probably even Google it, like mental health resources at your college, and that makes a huge difference as well. The thing that I did was I used a website called betterhelp.org, which is basically online therapy, which worked well for me because my schedule is very busy. I could kind of schedule online appointments whenever I wanted to, and I could also chat with my therapist whenever I needed to. And that worked well as well. They have financing options available, so it was actually pretty cheap. I think I was able to get a full month of therapy for $150, which is actually insanely good because usually like one session is at least $100. If you're interested in that, go to betterhelp.org and you can apply for their financial help option. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing I can say is just to please not give up. I've been there. I've been in that dark spot. I've been in those difficult, scary, hard, down spiraling moments. I've had moments where I'm just curled up in a ball, sobbing on my bed or sobbing in the couch, feeling so alone and finding no purpose and no enjoyment in life. I've been there. But all I can do is ask you to please hold on. I did. I held on. And even on the days that I didn't want to, I just kept pushing and holding on and waiting for a light at the end of the tunnel. And you know what? It came. I'm out of it. I'm better now. I'm so much better now. And I'm so grateful to be able to say that because I'm not lying when I say that there was a time that I didn't know if I would ever be back to my normal self again. So if you're watching this right now and you're in that dark, scary place, please know that it does end. Please know that you're worth holding out for it. And please know that you're worth holding on for. You're loved. You have so much to offer the world. You are so valuable. You are needed, you are wanted, you are appreciated, and there is nobody else in this world that can do what you can do. So hold on. I would really suggest you look into the resources that I just suggested, and if you are struggling with suicidal thoughts, call the suicide hotline. I'm going to put that number right here for you. Those people are available anytime, any hour of the day to help you with any suicidal thoughts that you might be dealing with. And I also made a video about suicide with the Yowie family right there. You can go check that out if you want, and I hope that will help you as well. Okay, well, I hope you found this helpful. Please leave me a comment and let me know if you found this helpful, if you have any other tips or suggestions for coping with depression. If there's any other videos you want to see me make, let me know that as well, because I'm always looking for tips and suggestions. If you're new to my channel, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and I will be back soon with another video. I love you, sis. I really do. Like, I really, really, really love you. So hold on. Bye.
And if you call, and I'm invested 1,000 miles away, I'll be there for my baby. Oh yeah, I'll be